Hi, and welcome to this week's episode hosted by Gray and Mark Law of St John's Health and Fitness and Mark Elm of Leeds Beckett University, where we take training theory and science onto the gym floor.
Hey up everybody, welcome back. Here we are again, episode 17 we are on today. All right fellas, joined again by Matt and Mark. How are you both? All right?
Not bad.
All good, mate. All good.
Good to catch up again. We're all in his own kind of places today, aren't we? We're not at the gym or together out, so we're all on Zoom, a three-way Zoom call. So all good. So anyway, on to the next episode. We are going to have a quick chat this morning about training as we get older, aren't we? It was a request from one of our mates, one of his good mates, one of ex-Wakey lads, Gaz Spencer. So he likes to listen, does Gaz as well. So big shout out, Gaz. He's one of his number one fans, I would say, Matt. And he messages nearly every podcast on us listen. So, but a really good question. Gaz is, how old's Gaz now, Matt? 53, will he be?
Yeah, he is in his, I don't know exactly, if I'm honest.
He retired 50. He's got to be 53, 54. Yeah. Gaz corrects us on it. I'm sure you'll let us know. But anyway, so he wanted to know, Gaz still really loves keeping fit and active and going to the gym. And he wanted to know, should he still be training how he used to train when he was 20? Should he still be pushing? So it just asked the question to us, could we cover it on a podcast? I thought it'd be a really good one. So we said, great idea. So here we are. That's what we're going to talk about, innit?
Yeah.
So let's go straight away over to Mark. Let's put it on to you, this one straight away. What should, let's say, the older generation, once you're into your 50s and your 60s and your 70s, can you and should you still be training exactly the same as you were if you were really fit? Let's go for that one first. A 20-year-old who's got a real good strength and conditioning background in their 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yes and no. it depends. So I'll just tell the story just before we came online. So I did quite a bit of weightlifting and masters weightlifting. So that's for people over 35 years, not stone. That would be me. So I was training with guys who were 70s and 80s, and they were still cleaning and jerking, still doing snatches, and they were like world champions, European champions in masters weightlifting in their age and weight category. So like they might be the world champion at the 85 kilo, 80 years plus category. So yeah, you can. Whether you should or you shouldn't depends on your. So we're talking to two ex-professional rugby league players. Now, most of my S&C experience has been in rugby league players, and that sport beats the crap out of you. Bad joints, bad knees, bad back, bad hips. You kind of take every joint, and it has some mileage on there, and that's going to take away from what you're going to be capable of doing in your 40s, 50s, 60s. So you've got somebody who's going to the gym now, do the typical Monday night bench presser, because that's International Night of the Bench Press. Do they have to stop doing that when they're into the 60s, 70s, 80s? Probably not, because they're kind of the toll on the body is probably not going to be the same. You have to be realistic and expect that you're not going to be as explosive, you're not going to be as strong as you once were. So can you do so the exercise? Yes. Can you still do the weight and the tempo? Probably not. But as long as you kind of creep your expectations down as you get older, but not too much, you don't have to kind of throw it away and go, I'll never do that again. Do you run around, sprint and play five-a-side? Maybe not. Can you still do walking football? Yeah. So it's scalable. But it depends on your start point. It depends on what you're doing and the damage you cause in the process. So I'm sure you guys can to reel off any number of injuries you got from your rugby days and the scars they left you with now and how that impacts on what you can do now. So 10 years time, that's still going to be there plus 10 years older, 10 years more mileage on it.
Yeah, definitely. I think from me, my personal point of view is I'm a bit like that. I still want to be able to, in my head, I still want to be able to train the same if I'm thinking 10, 15, 20 years down the line, whether that will happen or not, I don't know. Going back to Gaz really quickly, he's probably his main objective, I would say, for training at the minute, although he does it, he loves golf. He's he's really into his golf. He's improved loads. So he don't want to be pushing too far in the gym and working too hard that that's going to affect his golf, does he, injuries wise or anything like that. So it's getting that balance right of keeping. So what you're saying basically is, if Gaz has always trained, if you have always trained and looked after yourself, you don't. It's as long as you're not starting something new. You don't want to get to 70-year-old and then think, right, I'm going to start powerlifting, I'm going to start deadlifting. Then it's the training history of what your body's used to, in it really. That's what you're talking about, the older guys that you used to train with.
Yeah, so those guys who do the weightlifting, they started off weightlifting in their younger years, like 9, 10, 11, that kind of age, and have never stopped. So they might have had lags where they've kind of come away for maybe a month or two here or there, but they've always been weightlifting. And over time, what they can do is it kind of slowly kind of ebbs down, but it's never stopped. So they've always just been able to keep it going. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you took somebody who was 55, 60 and asked them to start cleaning, jerking and snatching, it's not going to end well for anybody. But could they go on the weights machines and push weights around safely? Absolutely. So it's about kind of finding the right thing for the right person at the right time, and having a clear objective of what it is they're trying to get out of it. So Gaz there mentioned about golf. So the thing I'd hear from golf is that basically, can you keep mobile? So can you twist and turn and kind of hit the ball explosively and have some kind of rotational power? Not that I think I'm trying to look at his driving length, but can you swing a golf club as fast as you want to swing it to be able to play it in less than 15 shots per hole, or get to the green in less than 15 shots anyway? It takes me 15 shots to get to the last 2 feet.
Yeah, I'm not much better myself.
Yeah.
Gaz is a little bit better than that, I would say, anyway, Matt.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Slightly.
Let's not make him big-headed and talk about his golf.
Yeah.
What about them, Matt? So we've talked about that then. So if you're on about people who've got a history in training, but then you do get your new starters who want to come in. You talked about it a little bit where everybody gets to an age where you look at it and you think, well, I want to be able to, like some people, they might be having kids later nowadays. It could be just having kids and being able to do stuff for the kids. It might be for the grandkids. It might be just they want to live a more active life and they get to a point and they think that they want to train, and then that starting point. Where do so from your point of view, then where do you see him starting and doing it? We probably know the answer really. If you look at it sensibly, you start basic and you work to a point of what's beneficial to him, don't you?
Yeah, there was a really good program, and I forget the Strength for Life guys at Sheffield Hallam. I spent a few months there last year as a lecturer. They did like a Strength for Life program. They did a really interesting thing. I think it was using sandbags and kettlebells, basically like trying to mimic holding like a baby or a toddler. So grandparents could strength train, and I think there was a TV ad for that, and it might be John Lewis or something like that, where the grandparents and picked up kettlebells and kicked up and then Christmas came, the kids visited. Like that is it. I know it's a bit cliche because there's a TV advert, but they did this program there through Sheffield Hallam where it was like, can I teach grandparents who may be detrained or never trained to handle this sandbag in a way that you'd get a burping a 6-month-old baby or you're picking up your toddler, which is kind of what they want strength training for that demographic people. Like 75, 80, like great kids, grandkids, great grandkids. Like if you were to speak to that kind of group of people, that's how they get the most joy in life is living through their grandkids. And if they can't interact with them, can't play with them, because you know what the kids are like at that age, they just want to be picked up and chucked about and stuff. And to be able to do that, so that you can do that. And you're right, it is about starting with the basics. Now, what is basic for a 21-year-old, what is basic for a 75-year-old is slightly different. So, like, we're going to talk about movement. I think we're going to talk about muscle. And sometimes after a certain point, and I can't put an age number on that one, where developing muscle mass becomes a bit more important than the movement because of the loss of muscle mass and bone density as you kind of accelerate through past kind of 40 and beyond. So some older patients, again, I don't use patients, older people will benefit from just good old-fashioned bodybuilding type training, isolating muscle groups, stimulating some protein, protein synthesis, build up some muscle tissue. It's simple, and it's the simplest training you can ever get because you're just moving one joint at a time. You can be sat down on a knee extension and work calves, quads, you name it. So we as trainers of younger people would go, that's a bit too basic, where we would like people to start. We'd go more basic, fundamental movements like squatting or lunging, something like that. You got somebody 75 who've never done it before, probably got arthritic knees and hips. You want to start something slightly more, even more simple than that. So that's kind of where I would start with. I won't want to end there, but you got to kind of go with where they're capable of getting into and generating some muscle growth for their metabolic health, not just their kind of movement capacity.
Yeah, because well, we've been talking about that, haven't we? The benefits of muscle and everything else as we get older, and muscle loss. We've touched on it before, haven't we? And it's another one you could talk about all day for it. So, where we're going to go with that then, Gray, when we're talking about so different people train. Oh, that was the other bit. So then also we're on about that the certain exercises like that we're talking about Ian then who'd trained through an injury, which we'll probably end up touching on, but like deadlift, like is there any point in pushing somebody too hard into a deadlift? Is that, I mean, especially as we're getting older, if there's no real risk and no real reward for it, the reward doesn't outweigh the risk sort of thing. So yeah, I'm with her in there, aren't I?
Yeah, no, I mean, let's say like a deadlift is an example of an exercise that has a reward. So, I mean, the deadlift could be one example, like bench press. Anything as a risk has a reward. I think it changes. So, if somebody's got a really sound deadlift, somebody's been deadlift for donkey's years, and you can see some really, like Mark Felix, like he's like 50, and he's the world's strongest man, and he's pulling an absolute ton off the floor. Like, there's no risk in Mark Felix like deadlifting 50 kilos. That's ridiculous. But starting somebody deadlift is like, there's absolutely no reward for a huge amount of risk. But let's take somebody who has been deadlifting really successfully for 15 years, and they're just on that cusp of losing a bit of flexibility, losing a little bit of muscle mass, and you're now starting to think, am I getting what I want from this, and is the reward there for that? But telling somebody at 45, 50, 55, 60 that you are not allowed to do that anymore because it's too risky for you is probably not what they want to hear.
No.
But what I feel like, we can carry on deadlifting, but actually lifting above 60% of your max is too risky. But lifting at 55, 60% of your max is manageable. The risk is mitigated. We don't have as much risk there. So you can do the exercise, you just can't do it as heavy as you once did. But we can maybe do it for a few more reps, or we can play around with the volume or the number of sets. So it's about making smarter choices and not kind of going, well, that's off the menu altogether, because you want to keep doing something for as long as you can keep doing it for. As soon as you stop doing it, that's it. You're never going back to it.
I suppose with that, Mark, and all, even when you think about that with deadlift, if you're thinking about it's just a mobility thing or whatever it might be, you could always start lifting it a bit higher off floor for them, so they're not lifting it as low and stuff like that, can't you? So, like you said, they still feel like they've got that little bit more weight, and they're just maybe not more working through as full a range of movement, maybe.
Yeah. Like I say, people do lose muscle mass and lose flexibility with increasing age. So, yes, they can deadlift, but are they going to pull it off the floor? Are they going to do like deficit deadlift? No, but like I say, a trap bar deadlift is not as demanding on as a regular bar deadlift. So it's about kind of on an individual basis. But I do think like the scaling back intensity. So we rather get rid of an exercise. If we've been doing like 3 sets of 5 and pulling heavy weight, can we go back to pulling moderate weight? We still feel like we're training, but we don't have the same level of risk with it. So for me, I want to do what I'm doing now for as long as I humanly can.
And me.
Over the last 3 days, it's been naff all back spasm. So, but yeah, I've got at the minute, I've got as good a squat depth I've ever had, and I'm in my mid-40s. Not quite to the end of my mid-40s just yet, but in the middle of my mid-40s.
Still early 40s, us, mate, aren't we?
Are we? You are. I'm a little bit further down. 43.
I'm clinging on to early 40s.
Yeah, you've only got a couple of months left, so don't get comfortable.
Yeah, I'm close.
My squat depth is as good as it's ever been. The weight I'm doing it with is unfortunately crap. So I don't want to lose that mobility, because I think the mobility for me is something that is really important. I mean, I've got a 6-month-old baby, so like for me, mobility is important. I'm going to get on the floor because that's where she lives. Not permanently. I'm not a bad parent, but she's crawling.
As long as she has got a bed, then.
Yeah. We pushed out to a bed for her.
Child line. So what you're saying there is you've put more onus on what's important to you, aren't you? So you're not as bothered at this moment in time at your age, mid-40s, close to mid-40s, having the flexibility and the kind of strength, but for like kind of you're willing to drop the weight to keep the technique good, so you know you've got that flexibility, so that you can hopefully keep sweating for long. Because at the end of the day, what are you going to gain at this moment? I know you had the big two times body weight.
I still have great. I still have.
Doing it, but
great. We're in season 2 on that.
Season 2. Well, season 2. Obviously, he's like.
It's been going on a little bit too long for me.
Yeah. It's like lost. People lost interest ages ago.
Yeah.
No,
It's like a big Netflix thing.
yeah. It's like Emmerdale. It's like never ending.
But no. So what? All I'm getting at is what I'm thinking for, like the likes of Gaz as they're getting older. You'd have to make your own choice. You have to be. You said the perfect word. Be smart. You've got to be a bit smarter about your training, haven't you? If you're going to the gym and you're feeling beat up to shit and you're knackered for a few days after and you're aching, and you've got to kind of go, I'm not sure I need to push myself that hard. You know what I mean? Or are you giving yourself enough recovery? Are you getting enough protein in your diet to allow that recovery, to help the recovery? I'm sure Gaz will be, because he's pretty switched on with it all. But you've just got to be smarter, haven't you? And you've got to. It's like, what is my goal? Why am I doing this? And what is going to be the outcome of it? What is the benefit to it?
You know, I think that's bang on what you've said, innit? You've got to know what your aim is, don't you? You know, like definitely. We've all got an aim in why we train. You know, like for whatever it might be. And as it is now still, I just still want to be able to do this in another 10, 15, 20 years time, whatever I do.
Yeah.
So, but if you're aiming at that point, but you want to stay mobile for golf, or you want to stay mobile for your kids or your grandkids or whatever it might be, you've got to look at what you want to do that's going to keep you as healthy for as long as possible, haven't you?
I've probably got a story I share with you, which is kind of helpful. So last week and weekend before last, Haley ran the Ponty 10K. And I was at the start and finish line with the two kids, waiting for them to come back in. And I watched this stream of people come back in, and every conceivable type of person, every demographic was represented. And I saw people come back to really, really good times, like some 40 minutes. Like for 10K is a really good time, and there were people from
Very good.
18, 19, like club runners, to somebody who's 55. You would if I took a picture of them running for like 2-3 seconds, and you said that they might have like never run before, took up running in the 50s, and then I said, right, they're running at 40, they're running like some 40-minute 10K pace. You go, how are they doing that? You can do stuff. You can do stuff. There's no reason why you should limit yourself, but just be smart about what you can and can't do. Like, you can't do everything, and you can't recover from everything dead quick. But it was actually really inspiring to watch. Yeah, I was like going, you know what, actually, we beat ourselves up for being all like, we tell what we can't do when we're 40. What we can do plenty. We can do absolutely plenty, because we can't do as much of it as fast as we are, or recover from it as much, or there's a cost attached to it. So if I was to try and run a fast 10K now, I could do it. Maybe I could do a good time. That's an absolute lie. But I could try and run my hardest, but it would take me a lot longer to recover from than it did when I was on. And that's the bit we have to be honest with yourself about. There's a cost to everything, and that cost gets more and more and more with every increasing year. But you're just going to go, well, if I'm paying that cost today, I don't have to do nothing. I just have to do something. But that something is a lot less than it once was.
Yeah. Mark, I agree with that with 10K. We ran Ospreys 10K, and I ran with Mark Graham. All right, Mark, he's a listener. And I ran with Mark.
What are you talking to us to, man?
No, not you. Not you. It was similar to, it was your sort of pace. So 12 months ago, he'd had 3 cardiac arrests. So we ran together. We did it, and so like it was steadier than my pace. That's all I'll say, Mark. I'm not going to say any more than that. But we're a bit steadier. But it just allowed me to look a little bit more and watch. And I was saying, I was just amazed at you're looking at some people and thinking, you should not be able to run that quick. Do you know, like they were limping, they were dragging one leg and running, like you said, running sub 40s. You know, like older than me, and you know I'm knocking on a bit now, but older than me, tonking it down. You know, like coming in at ridiculous times, and then other people who younger who look like they should be smashing it, look like they're really struggling. But it's just that thing, innit? You can do whatever you want to do, can't you? And like, but there's a cost and your recovery times and everything else. So I suppose his message to Gaz and anybody else out there is just crack on,
Shut up.
really, and do what you do as long as you know where you're going. Well done, Gray.
Can't help it. She's a dog. She won't listen to me.
She'll start him off.
What we're saying there is you can train in your 50s, but don't do CrossFit, is basically what we're saying, isn't it, then?
Yeah, in a nutshell.
There's always something you can do in there. There's
Yeah.
something you can do. Because, as like you said here, there's more and more research out at the moment, in there, and there's going to be more. There's studying loads of the benefits of being stronger when you're older.
Yeah.
I think there is loads more awareness out there at the minute, but it's gonna because it just is so true, innit? One at last I trained this morning, her mum's just fallen, she's 80, tripped up in the kitchen and she's broke a femur. She's got a big pin and plates holding it together at 80-year-old, and there's no saying, oh wow, if she'd have been really strong, if she'd have trained, looked after herself, she might still have fallen, but she might not have done as well. She might have had better balance. She might not have fallen in the first place. If she had have fallen, she might not have broke a femur. And she said, stand off barking now. Dogs there. So that's pretty much the take-home message. Yes, keep training, but tailor it, I suppose. Be sensible about it and be smart about it. Be smart with your recovery. Make sure you're getting enough recovery between your sessions. Make sure your nutrition's good. Make sure you're getting enough protein to recover. But crack on.
What was the quote you said in the episode with Dr. Nicky? You're never too old not to train.
You're too old not to train, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we've talked about episodes in the past where you go, if you're in your kind of late teens, early 20s, maybe even early 30s, you're kind of going, it's the here and now. I'm training for now. How do I look now? How do I feel now? I think you get into your mid 30s, you start to look down the road a little bit and go, what does my life look like in the future? And you start to invest a bit more in that, either financially or career-wise, but physically as well, going, it's hard enough now. Okay, it's going to be a lot harder when I'm 40, 50, 60, 70. So I'm going to get it. I'm going to get what I want now and keep it. So I think
I think from me, when having kids, that made you think a little bit further down the line. I think when you have kids, you think further on. Think up until that point, you just, it's about you in it, and you just like, and then when you have kids, you think, I want to still be able to do stuff. Well, you want to still be able to race your kids, don't you? You still want to be able to sprint, have a race against them. You still want to be able to beat them. You know, just you don't want to be knackered where they want to kick a football about and you're out of breath and sat on your ass there just watching them saying I can't join in. So that's an extra motivation, I think, is stuff like that. And then it goes on as they get older. I mean, fingers crossed, not for a good few years. Yeah, I mean, Gray might be a granddad before me, but fingers crossed that. But then it goes again, doesn't it? You know, like you still want to be able to do them things with your grandkids if that happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool.
If I am a granddad earlier than you, I am younger than you as well. So I'll be obviously fitter. I said, going on that though, when you said about running with kids, I obviously, you know, we coach rugby and stuff. I was training all like under 14s last week, and I just joined in and did full session with them. We did a bit of fitness at the beginning. We played loads of games. We were running, you know, we played offside, we played everything, and it was brilliant. It was like, this is it. You know what? That I was buzzing coming off field. I felt like I was a kid again, and the fact that I could just join in and train with 20, 14-year-old lads and kind of feel like I've managed. I kept up with them pretty good, I'd say. It was a really good feeling. And
how many bumpers and backhand flicks came out of that session then?
Oh, maybe loads.
Yeah, when I do it, you feel amazing.
Oh,
turning them inside out.
What was your third man chop like though, Gray?
What
was your third man chop like?
Oh, it was superb, mate. I think I caused 3 ACL injuries. I came off field like that. Get in.
Well, 2 of them were yours, weren't they?
Yeah, more likely. Yeah, definitely. So I think, right, I've got a question now. I'm going to fire a question at you two. So this is obviously, think of Gaz's question now, what we started with. Gaz's journey, Gaz's goal, what he's still wanting to do. What if you're a newcomer? What if you're listening to this and you've never really been at gym, but you are similar age to get? What if you're in your 50s or 60s? Where do you start? If you're listening to all this research that's out there at the minute, being strong is really healthy. It's good for your bones. It's good for blah blah blah. As you're aging, being strong is always a positive. Where does somebody start?
With you two.
Well, obviously, yeah, that's number one answer. So, yeah, getting a coach probably would be a good start, wouldn't it? Getting somebody who knows what they're talking about rather than just thinking, right, I'm just going to go in a gym and start lifting weights. So that would probably be the number one, wouldn't it? What if they can't afford a PT? What if they can't afford a trainer? What if they just want to start lifting? What sort of movements? What sort of exercises? Give a bit of info away.
I mean, if somebody's coming in and they were completely new to it, I think, and not a bad place to start, and I would rarely say this, would be to go to the weights machines, because you can do it, and there's almost no risk. They've all got the instructions on there. You can do if you do every machine in the gym, not necessarily the same session, but just do like one set on every machine in the gym, you will get a benefit from that. And just build up some confidence in using and kind of pushing and pulling and twisting and turning, although the twisting and turning stuff might not be a good place to start. But so some like the leg press, leg extensions, chest press, rows, all the major muscle groups. Just say if you do one set on everything in the gym on the machines, unlikely to do any harm. You'll get some benefit immediately. And you're probably going to feel a bit better for doing that. And that's probably where I would start if you're unsupervised and you are into your mid to late 50s, never have gone to the gym before. That's probably my best bit of advice. But caveat with that, would I always say, if possible, you don't always have to pay for PTs. That the councils will run facilities and activities for engaging people in healthy lifestyles and stuff. So try and find some support for those kind of groups. But yeah, just get on the machines, I think, would be my best advice.
So there's something for everybody. It's not impossible, is it? It's not impossible for somebody can't say, oh, I cannot do that. I can't access, like I said, the council gyms. There's something for everybody, isn't there? Yeah.
I mean, I would say that I wouldn't end there, definitely. And that's only my advice for that kind of client group.
Yeah, we'd agree with you there.
Unsupervised, yeah. What about you guys?
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I think the other thing, I suppose, is there is some group training sessions in there that are run where you might not be personally trained, but you're under instruction, aren't you? So you can follow a little bit more technique. We do group stuff. I'm not, but some like you're pulling people up on the technique, aren't you? And you're coaching them properly in right ways. It doesn't have to be one-to-one stuff, does it? So there is a lot cheaper versions of things out there that you could join in and do.
What about things at home? Could they do anything at home to prep them even before they go to the gym?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's loads of resources online, YouTube channels, and things like that. But anything that involves just like simple bodyweight movements, just trying to get up, like squats would be the go-to thing. And again, it's kind of understanding just how mobile and how active a person is. Like I say, I had to give somebody a bit of advice about what to do without knowing a bit more about the kind of typical person. If you're like a normal, active, healthy person who can squat up and down, press ups, you can do all sorts of weird versions of press up against the wall, press against like a chair, squats, press ups, lunges, anything like that would be great.
Yeah, you can press up against wall, Mark, can't you, on your table, to make it easier. Sitting up and down out at chair ain't bad, is it? Getting up and down out at chair 10 times wouldn't be a bad thing.
Do that kind of weird swinging thing,
Yeah. But you know what I mean, don't you? Yeah. But it's so
very good. Right, cool. I think we've covered everything there, do you?
Yeah. Well, if he wants any more info, he knows where to find. He knows that. Or we'd have to do an extra episode.
Yeah, we obviously haven't covered everything because it's same as what we always say. God, you could talk about this all day, but we've probably got the point across, haven't we? So hopefully, so let us know, guys. Get a bit of feedback from you. We'll let you know as soon as this goes live, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, good to see you then, boys. Are we all? Are we happy with that? Then we're wrapping up.
Yep, all good.
Awesome, very good. All right, we'll see you all soon.
Bye.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked the episode, we'd like you to share with us that on YouTube, Instagram and Twitter. You can listen again on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please leave us a rating and a review, and any comments would be more than appreciated. And hopefully you'll tune back next time for our next episode.
The Yorkshire Fitness Podcast.